Basking in what was the sun of Los Angeles, we're here at the SVG Esports Production Summit, first event in person in quite a long time. I'm joined by two individuals from NBA 2K League. To my left, this is Matt Arden. To my right, TJ Canty. Fellas, how are we? How are we doing? TJ, you guys can go first.
Good, man. It was a really fun event. I enjoyed the panels. I enjoyed speaking on it. So, good way to spend spend a day in LA.
Appreciate you joining us. Matt, how are you doing?
Doing very well. I got to be honest. It was much more exciting to see all of our friends and colleagues in person than I even thought it would be. I think events like this are so important too, to share information and understand what everybody else is going through. It's been a good day.
Right. Used to seeing people like yourselves on a small square in Zoom, and now it's great to see you guys have legs and have bodies and everything's all good. Guys, a lot to talk about. NBA 2K League is a league that is super busy all the time. One of the leagues that kind of, I guess I can say this because you guys don't want to brag, but you pioneered the whole remote production workflows really quickly. About a week after the pandemic started in 2020, you're like, we got to get this thing on the air somehow. Oh yeah, you guys pioneered the remote production side of esports, so congratulations on the both of you guys for doing that. TJ, I got you. I guess, Matt, we'll go for the first question for you. You guys were kind of raring to go in 2020, ready for in-person events, a big season, and then boom, COVID happened. How did you make that transition quickly and were able to get things back up and running, without a hitch?
The how is easy. Best team in esports. I'm lucky to be a part of a team that's just the most innovative, the most pivot ready, and the most easygoing when it comes to making changes. The functional side of it was actually, TJ and I were experimenting with remote production for a tournament in Korea in January of that year. And so we were sort of on the cusp of like figuring remote production out and understanding what those types of tournaments might lead us to be able to do and produce stateside. So when the pandemic hit, we really sort of immediately got into a meeting the next day and said, okay, season still has to happen. We still have to have the season. What do we do next? And we just sort of got into this interesting workflow where we made decisions quickly and then dealt with the ramifications of the decision down the line. We didn't spend a lot of time worrying about the decision. We spent a lot of time saying, okay, what do we think the answer is? A or B? A? Great, let's do A. If that was wrong or we need to figure it out later, we'll deal with the consequences of decision A down the path. But we've made a decision, let's keep moving the ball forward. And that's kind of how we attacked the whole season. And it made COVID manageable. I hate to say that there's a silver lining in pandemics because they're terrible.
Right.
And I never want to go through one again.
Right.
And I'd like this one to go away. But I think the silver lining was understanding how amazing our team was, and frankly the rest of the SVG family too. We could call others and say, hey, Joe Lynch at EA, how are you dealing with this? Matt over at Riot, you guys are having sync issues too. What are you guys doing to fix that? So this in particular, the community of esports and esports production that came together to figure this out together was pretty incredible.
Right. It goes to show that everyone is in this together. The esports community is very communal to the core because, like you said, Joe Lynch, someone at ESL kind of come together and say, hey, we have this issue, help us out quickly. TJ, over to you. You kind of are the mastermind of the in-person event, but when it was remote, how did you kind of replicate the in-person feeling when there weren't any fans for however long it was? And then also when you guys ultimately somehow did come back, well, you guys are still coming back, what is one thing that you guys are kind of looking forward to? Because on your panel you said you got one shot, and if, the one event you guys did, 200 people came early and they stayed to the end of things, so you must have done something right. So what is that thing you guys are doing right?
Special call out to Heather for, mentioning the one-shot thing. I want to give credit where credit is due, but fundamentally, our broadcast and our experience, are one and the same in the sense if you're live in the arena, you see our players yelling at each other, you see the competition, you see the anger, you see the camaraderie, the handshakes at the end of it. And I knew, like, regardless of whether it was remote or in person, we had to figure out a way to translate that to the broadcast. So we implemented things, Matt and I, with POV cameras that were on screen at all times. We rolled out Command Center to give, the super fans a chance to watch only their isolated, games. So if you're a fan of Warriors Gaming, you only want to watch Warriors Gaming, you had a chance to watch just that game without the broadcast, but then you could also go back to the broadcast and you could see your, the 5 players on the team, faces as they're yelling or angry or happy or even crying on some occasions, right? And then knowing that we did that for 2 years, and I don't want to say we perfected it, but we were very successful at it, we knew we wanted to be back in person, but we didn't want to just go back in person and just keep the same static feel of like, all right, we're back in the studio, same thing. So it was like, how do you plus up from there, And I give credit to Brendan Donahue, who's the president of our league, who said, why don't we do something where we can have 2 stages in a room? And it's like, that's a, excuse my language, that's a hell of a challenge. How can I make that happen? And, like remote, like the league itself, we didn't shy away from it. We said, all right, let's figure out how to put 2 30-foot stages in the middle of a room that was
Right.
probably 40 feet wide, right?
Yeah.
So when we did that, we knew we didn't have an audience, but now you had 2 dueling stages at any given time. So if you're watching on a broadcast, it feels just as energetic.
Right.
Because even though these 2 teams may be quiet, the other 2 teams are yelling at each other. You hear it in the background, and you can see them looking at each other, going back and forth.
Right.
So that's kind of how we approached it. And now going forward, we know that now we have to continue to build on that, go bigger, go better, stick with the dual stages. But now we have to create a show specifically for the people in the arena that's separate from the broadcast.
Right.
So that means building out even more fun, fan engagement, more moments in the arena, so the broadcast continue to handle itself, but then also they have to meet in the middle somewhere.
Right. You guys, stepped up to the plate for the challenge. Got to keep the sports reference. You guys stepped to the plate and knocked it out of the park. So congratulations on that.
Baseball.
Right. I mean, hey, you hit a 3. You hit a 3 at the half court at the buzzer. So keep it the best. Well, that works. That works. Matt, on your end, what's there to look forward to in 2022? I know there's a lot on the calendar. TJ kind of teed up a little bit about kind of keeping the momentum going that you guys established this year and last year. What do we have to look forward to on your side of things?
I'm going to play it coy because we haven't made the announcements yet, but I think what you'll see is a ton of maturation. You'll see a return to our roots and an embracing of some of the things that brought 2K to the forefront to begin with. Those will all be infused into what will be our biggest, most lucrative, most insane, most dual stage, most what's the craziest thing we can throw at it season you'll ever see. And I think you'll see some maturation too as to where we play, how often we play, and what the outcome of those tournaments mean to the players. So lots of big changes coming. And if you're watching this in 2 weeks, they'll already have been announced probably. And this looks like the dumbest interview where I'm playing coy for no apparent reason. But I'm gonna stick to my story.
Right. Matt likes to keep things under wraps, but I'm sure if you're watching this in 2 weeks, Matt is now thankful that the news is out. So there you go. You know this. You're looking into the future a little bit. Matt, TJ, thank you for your time. Congrats on all the success so far. Very much looking forward to this year with in-person events. Thanks for coming.
Hey, man, thank you for having us.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, that is Matt Arden. This is TJ Canty. Here is the SVG Esports Production Summit. More from Matt, more from TJ, and all the people here in LA. Please visit our website at sportsvideo.org.